Welcome to ViviTalks. I'm Vivienne Aerts. Join me in celebrating 100 talented female musicians from my last album, type of thing. Empowering female cacao farmers in Congo's Virunga State Park and restoring the rainforest. Delve into the musical journeys, creative processes, and unique perspectives of these talented women that were involved in the making of this album. Today I'm talking with Karina Pardus. Listen to our conversation where we dive into her creative process, her involvement in the Female Composer Safety League, the Tenor Dance Studios, and Moms in Music. Karina Pardus is the founder of Coy Compositions, award-winning composer, orchestrator, singer-songwriter, storyteller, and treasurer of the Female Composer Safety League. She writes music for podcasts, video games, and has worked with companies such as Ipsy. She has been a panelist at the Salt Lake Gaming Convention, Game Sound Con, and a contributor to the Silicon Slopes Tech Summit. As a mom of 3, she knows that managing a family and a business requires a lot of creativity to not only balance her dreams, but to thrive among them. Welcome, Karina, to my official podcast. It's such a pleasure to have you here, and it's so awesome that you're on my album, and I just love to present you to whoever's listening in today and learn more about what you do. So maybe we can go over a little. What's your background? Where you're from? What do you do? What's happening?
Sure. So I'm so excited to be here. I loved being on your album. It was so much fun, and I loved hearing all of the voices together. It was just so uplifting. It was so wonderful hearing all of the voices together. So first, congratulations on that. It's fantastic. I am originally from Colorado, in the United States, and am now living in Utah. We've been here for, oh goodness, 13 years. So I'm almost to the point where I need to start saying that I'm from Utah, but I will have always been from Colorado because I love Colorado so much, and a lot of my family is still there. I have a background in piano performance and education. And I've done a lot of vocal things too, but my main instrument has always been piano. And I was a professional concert pianist for a while, and then I had kids and decided I didn't want to be competitive anymore in the performance sphere because performing on piano is actually very competitive. People don't really think about it that way, but it can get pretty intense sometimes. So I did that, and then I started doing some composing for small projects and doing some freelance work. And then I broke into a lot of other things. I'm the music director for an adult with disabilities program through Tenor Dance, which is through the University of Utah. I do a day program, and we do musical theater, which is so fun, so fun and fulfilling. And then I work with a couple nonprofits as well. And we can probably talk about that in a little bit.
Awesome. Cool. So you're composing, you're directing, wearing a lot of different hats. I'd love to hear a little bit about your creative process. How do you approach writing or composing or producing?
Oh man. Probably, well, one of my favorite quotes is, you can only connect the dots that you collect. And so probably the first way that I approach my creative practice is by feeling things. And I like writing things down. I don't like journal every single day. It's nothing like that. But when there's something special that happens, or struggle that happens, or confusion that happens, like these bigger things that cause me to reflect a lot, then I'll try to write down what those feelings are and how they're connected. And our brains are meaning-making machines, and so it's not a hard thing to be like, what does this mean? Like, we all have that desire. We all want to do that. But being able to do that. And then when I want to create something, well, what's the purpose? What is the
Right.
emotion that I want to get across to people? Because that's what music is. Music is a medium for helping people feel things collectively. Um, and so being able to create that emotional connection starts with me knowing how am I emotionally connected to what it is that I'm going to write, which also makes it difficult because then when you release it, it's like this huge like anxiety, like vulnerable, like this was mine and now I'm giving it away, like kind of feeling sometimes.
Uh-huh.
But always worth it. Every single time, always worth it. So I do that, and then if it's with words, I usually start with words. If it's just instrumental, then I usually start with basic chords and a melody and then expand after that and see what is the music saying to me? Is it something that needs different instruments in order to bring different types of voices to the table? Is it something that I
Mm.
can collaborate with another artist? Because collaboration is one of the best ways to enhance the message from any standpoint. So that's a little bit of how I approach things.
Awesome. So you're not performing at all anymore?
Um, I mean, little bits here and there. I sing with an interfaith choir around Christmas. I whenever my piano students have a recital, I always perform at the recital too because I miss
Okay.
performing, and so that's fun.
You are
But not anything professionally
pursuing that career
established
as
anymore.
okay, cool. I'd love to hear more about you wrote that you're the associate director of the Game SoundCon and you've been in the panelist, the Salt Lake Gaming Convention. And so there's a lot of film scoring, game scoring, right?
Mhm.
That you do. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I started getting involved in game audio. Oh man, probably 8 years ago now. I haven't, people are like, what would I know from? Probably nothing. I worked with a lot of students at the University of Utah with their game development program.
Mhm.
When they're graduating, they have to create a game from start to finish to be able to publish. And so I would go
Oh,
to them and be like, you need to learn how to talk to a composer because they
okay.
don't do that in the program. That's not part of their curriculum. But I'm like, your game needs music. It can't be a good game without music because you're
That's right.
creating this world and this story, and it's gonna fall flat unless they have music to be able to connect to.
Yeah.
Because we bridge the gap between what we see and what we feel. So I worked with them for a little bit and I just started getting involved in game audio communities, which, by the way, is one of the most open and welcoming communities ever. Film audio is not like that. It's very stuffy. It's very, I'm going for the big project, and so I don't want you to get
Hierarchy.
that big project. But in game audio, it's yeah, we're all going for that job, but what do you need help with? Can I help you do better at trying to get that job that I'm also trying to get to? And like it's very much a family and like
Wow.
trying to build that community. And I
Mm.
loved it. So I started speaking at Game Sound Con in 2020 through the nonprofit that I'm a part of, the Female Composer Safety League, and we support women who have been sexually abused in the music industry. And so part of that initiative is to create awareness around what safe spaces look like in studios.
Mm.
And so we were speaking at this conference about how to build a safe place for people to be able to create because we cannot be creative if we don't feel safe. If we feel in
Right.
constant danger, we cannot thrive. It's just not, the human brain doesn't allow it. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are. And we all want a thriving creative community. So
Right.
we were speaking there, and I was talking with the with Brian Schmidt, who's the founder and runner of Game Sound Con. And I was like, I want to get more involved. How do I get more involved? And so I started working with him and am now his associate director for the conference, which is just such a joy to be able to help create an environment where the community can come together to be able to learn, share ideas, get inspired, feel refreshed, and be able to just go forth into the world and create more things. Because when we create, we're changing the world around us. And so that's just one of my favorite things to be able to do.
Wow, that's awesome. And that conference is like a yearly, and how many, where is it? Does it change locations, or
Yeah, it's
and how
in
many people?
Burbank, California every October.
Uh,
So they just announced the dates for this year is October 29th and 30th in Burbank,
mm.
California. And yeah, check it out. Game
And
Sound
then
Con.
thousands of
It's
people
great.
come, right? It's
Um,
crowded.
yeah, with Game
Or
Sound Con last year, I think we had close to 800 people
okay,
in person, and then it's
amazing.
also virtual. So if you can't make it in person, it's a hybrid conference, and I think it works pretty well with that. We, if you're virtual, then they have virtual spaces for you to be able to network, so you still get some of that type
Mm.
of community, which is half of why you go to a conference anyways, is to be able to meet people and all of that stuff. So yeah, so it's really great.
Awesome. I'd love to hear more about your work with the Female Composer Safety League.
Yeah, I am the treasurer on the board of directors. Um, and it's been really special. I tell people that I love it and that it's so much fun, and they're like, "You're talking to people who have been sexually harmed." And I'm like, "Well, that part obviously isn't fun, but the people are
Mm.
amazing." And it's just being able to help people know that they're not alone, is probably one of the biggest joys. Um, I I get to help people know that it wasn't their fault. I get to help create a path for them to pursue justice, whatever that looks like.
Mm.
There are some women who want to come forward. There are some women who don't want to come forward. And there's no right or wrong way to be a survivor. There's no one way to respond to trauma of any kind. And so being able to help them find what works best for them is just so empowering. For them, and then also for me. I get to just be there with them, and it's really, really powerful. We actually just I know that this is not airing immediately, but as of right now, in I guess today's March 1st, but just the other day, um, we, with a coalition of other nonprofits, were able to release a report called Sound Off, Make the Music Industry Safe.
Mm.
That is a comprehensive report of over 200 pages outlining sexual misconduct in the music industry for the past 70 years. And so this is, I mean, specifically in America. The British Commission actually just released one a month ago about misogyny in the music industry, where they also outline things from the UK perspective. And so it's really exciting being able to start bringing these things to a public stance where people have to make a choice. With the information presented, these predators are continually making profit for these companies. What is the company going to do about it? Because they are making profit off of the harm that they've enacted upon other people. These women who not only have their lives been completely changed, but their careers have been stifled. Retaliation is a huge problem when a woman tries to come forward about anything that has happened.
Mm.
We are not just talking about sexual penetration of any kind. It is pervasive. There have been executives that think that, oh, I'll just watch pornography in front of you, this is fine. Like, that is a form of sexual harm. Like, anytime those things are just done to you, it treats you like you're an object. You're not being respected in the fullness of your humanity. So we're starting to be able to create this environment where people know. They can't say that they don't know anymore, which is really exciting because that's when change has to start happening. We can't change what we don't talk about. You
Right.
can't change what you don't see. And so the more awareness we create, the greater power we have to be able to start creating an industry that will be safe for everyone involved. When we make, like, people are like, you're just helping like this small section of people. I'm like, well, first of all, women are the smaller majority, or I guess, so they're the minority, because of these barriers that have been put in place for decades and even generations, hundreds of years, going back to the classical music era. Women have been barred and erased from the creativity that they have been able to share with the world, and it's hidden. And it's such a shame because all of those voices, like, if we can think of what the world would be like with those voices present and acknowledged, there's a lot of power to be had in that. And so we're here to uplift those voices and to help those who couldn't speak or who felt like they couldn't speak be able to find their voice, and whatever that looks like. If it looks like going to court, I will go to court with you. If it looks like holding a sign up on the corner of the street saying this person was a jerk, I will stand on that corner and hold that sign with you saying, yeah, he's a jerk. Or whatever it looks like to that person. Healing is not a linear process. And so we try really hard to just create a space where people can find what that process looks like for them. So a lot of really exciting things are happening, but definitely go look at the report, share it. We have 5 demands that we are asking of the music industry and for Congress and the Senate to be able to use their power to change the music industry. And so, yeah, you can find all of those out there on the internet now, which is great.
Awesome. Wow. And I mean, thank you for the work you're doing. That's a lot. I'd love to hear a little bit more how you got into doing this work. As we all,
Yeah.
everybody has their own personal stories. I'd love to hear a little bit about what you want to share about that.
Okay, so how I got into the trauma space was kind of by accident. 2020, I was attending Game Sound Con virtually because everything was virtual that year. And one of the speakers was a woman by the name of Nomi Abadi, and she's the one who founded the Female Composer Safety League. And at the time, she was like, that was when she launched it. She was like, I am creating this nonprofit. It's just not a nonprofit yet, but let's build this community. And I was like, this sounds amazing. I am a survivor of sexual abuse and assault from when I was much younger. And being able to see other people be able to say that out loud, I had never said it out loud before, was like, I can talk about this. Like, it was really kind of a eye-opening moment for me, that it's not something that has to be hidden away, a part of myself. And so I started attending the meetings that we had. Again, it's still a virtual community, and we don't want there to be any barrier of entry for people who need that support. And so we do a lot of virtual things, but I started going to that, and then Nomi just kept talking about how, we'll make it a nonprofit. I'm just not there yet. I'm not there yet. And I called her and I was like, what do you need? What do you need to make this a nonprofit? Like, where's the barrier for that? And she was like, I just need a treasurer. And I'm like, cool, I'll do that. I've been, I mean, I'm
Obviously.
not an accountant, I'm not a finance wizard by any means, but I have been the treasurer of other smaller, well, I say smaller organizations, but really they were much bigger and more established, and so I had to do a lot less work,
Mhm.
which was really funny. But I was like, I'm happy to be the name of the treasurer and to just figure out how to build this together. And she's like, oh my goodness, let's do it. And we did, and we were able to get our 501c3 status from the IRS, which was really exciting. And just started building a board from there. Because we are working with these really sensitive and difficult issues, all of us on the board of directors are trauma certified through the National Center for Nonviolence, which anyone can go get that training. Go get it. Just look up ECHO training, and it is so helpful. Bystander training is so helpful. Just the more people we have that develop these skills, the better it is for any community that you're in. Because when we make a place safer for just one person, it uplifts everyone. It
Right.
helps make it safer for all of these people. So yeah, and it just kind of kept building from there. And like I said, I've absolutely loved it. I feel so blessed to be able to be in a space that helps find people a way for whatever their way is to be able to find their creative voice again or any of their voice again. So,
Yeah. And joining this group, it really helped you to get over your traumatic experience, I guess.
yeah, it really did. It helped me find my voice. It helped me be able to say, um, this happened to me and I survived. Like for me, it really was a matter of not needing to feel like I was a segmented person anymore. Like before,
Mm.
it really felt like there's the me that everyone sees, and then there's this me that's hiding from everyone because it has to hide from everyone. Um, and it's not like I go around sharing the details with everyone because nobody needs that. I don't need that. Um, I don't need that re-traumatization. I don't need to put that re-traumatization onto other people. But it should not be controversial to say something bad happened to me and it should not happen to anyone, and let's find a way to fix it.
Right.
But it is a really hard thing for people to hear and for people to talk about. But I have found that the more that I've talked about it, the more it helps other people be able to talk about it. And the more they talk about it, the more it helps me be able to talk about it. And all of those voices coming together makes
Mm.
just so much strength for people to be able to find what it is that they need. And we have found amazing men who are willing to have these conversations, which is so important. I always say, like, I don't want to change this industry without the men being involved because they are most of the industry right now. Like it is a male, like majority industry. We need them to help us change it. And I want that because it's not about removing their voices. It's about making space for all the voices.
Right.
And like we were talking about before with just when you are creating in a collaborative setting, it's better for everyone. And it's the same
Mm.
thing with this as well. We're just talking more about how do we have creative solutions to an environment where we're able to create. And that also requires everyone's voices. And we're
Yeah.
not there yet in all of the spaces, but I am seeing a lot of progress and people willing to talk about it. And that is just very hopeful for me.
Do you think it's more in music environments?
Um, Yeah, I'm seeing a lot more openness in the video game audio industry than in the
Mhm.
film industry. The film industry is having a harder time being open to the conversation. Um, And then when you go to the performance industry, it's even harder. They're even more closed off to those kinds of conversations. But again, you just need one place to begin to open that it'll start finding its way into all of these different spaces. So we'll get there.
Yeah. There's a lot of work to be done. What
Yeah.
advice would you give young musicians who are just starting their journey?
Oh man. First, you can do it, and the world needs what you can create, like 100%. Don't ever question the need for what it is that you can do, because it is needed. Whether or not you see that need being filled, that's not the point. It's needed. There will always be someone who's your biggest fan, even if you don't know it. So keep going, even though it gets really hard sometimes. And then beyond that, just because you don't know it yet doesn't mean that you won't ever know it. Mistakes are how we learn and grow. So the more bad art you create, the better of an artist you're going to become. Like, keep making bad art. Don't diss on the bad art. Like, I have made so many bad songs. And I go back and listen to them, and I have nothing but like empathy and joy for that version of me as an artist. Because I wouldn't be me without her. So, be gentle with yourself for sure. And then find any form of support that you can. Someone who's going to say, of course you're a good artist. Of course you screwed that up. And that's not the end. Like, finding that group of people in your tree of trust that can just keep you grounded and growing at the same time. And that's going to be needed through the creative parts, and then also through these social parts that we're talking about. Find the people that you're not afraid to tell when something goes wrong, when you feel unsafe. That's very, very important. You don't have to be alone in those instances. And yeah, that's probably, there's so much more to say always, but that's probably where I would start.
Awesome. I think this is great. I read in your bio that you're working as the music director for adults with disabilities at this dance program.
Yeah, so Tanner Dance Studios is a nonprofit dance studio in that works under the umbrella of the University of Utah here in Salt Lake City. And I am their music director for the Adults with Disabilities program. So they have a lot of different programs. Obviously, they have preschool programs, they have ballet, they have contemporary dance, they have, all of these different things that are just so amazing. But one of my favorite things that they do is that they have an Adults with Disabilities program where during the week they come to learn music, to do dance, to do art, to do science and social studies and language arts and just different things like that, like to really provide a balanced art experience for them. Excuse me. And so I get to help teach them music during that time. They also have a program called Elevate, which is a musical theater program. And I am just so blessed to be able to be the music director for that. So I work with the creative director, and then we have a classroom director, and then we have our choreographers who are amazing. Because I am not a dancer, I can move side to side and I can follow their direction like kind of okay. But being able to help them learn the music for the musical theater is just so great. Last year in 2023, we did the show Once on This Island. In just a month, we're going to be performing Finding Nemo Jr., which is, I mean, it's just such a blast and such a joy. And watching these people, I mean, they're some of my favorite humans on the planet, first of all, but watching them just constantly persevere for the joy of performing is just so much bright light and love in my life, and I absolutely love it.
And it's people with physical and mental, or is it a
Yeah,
mixed
so we
group,
have
or
some
the
physical disabilities. We have a lot of developmental disabilities. And yeah, kind of the whole gamut. So
spectrum?
it's really fun to find creative ways for them to be able to show off what they are very capable of doing, because they are extremely capable.
And creative.
Anybody who looks at someone different or disabled and thinks that they can't, that person is wrong. Because they can, and they show it all the time. And it's just lovely to be able to see how much they can. And so being able to create a space where not only do they learn and grow, but they show them that they can and they show others that they can is just great. And they are so supportive of each other. That was probably the thing that surprised me the most. When I first started, was just how caring and supportive the participants were with each other about what they can do. And it's just really, really beautiful. And at the end of every class, we have an Elevate cheer, because the name of the program is Elevate. And our Elevate cheer is elevate me, elevate you, elevate others. It's what we do. And just the enthusiasm with which they say it every week is like, just fills my soul it keeps me going for the whole week.
That's so beautiful. I used to volunteer for this mental health institution in the Netherlands and lead a group of people with all different diagnoses. And we would just sing. And they didn't know that I was also a psychologist. For them, I was just a music teacher, right? Let's sing. And it was fascinating. They were all of them were so nice and nice to each other. And yeah, I really enjoyed doing that. Yeah. So I totally relate to the feeling.
Oh, it's so fun. In the day program that I do, we have a showcase that's coming up at the end of the year. The end of the school year that we do this program for. And as part of it, I was like, I want them to be able to perform a song that they've written. I want each of them to be able to do this. And at first, the directors were like, I mean, okay, you can try to do that. They were supportive. They were just, that's never been done before, kind of thing. Let's see how it works. But sitting down with these students and being able to help them write a song, and some of them are just 2 lines. And one of my students currently has 4 pages, and I'm like, how are you gonna finish writing all of this? But it's just so great to be able to show them, like, you wrote that. You wrote a song, and they're just so excited, like, oh, I just did that. I'm like, yeah, and you get to perform your song. And I mean, I remember the first time I performed a song that I wrote, and it was like incredible. Not one of the best songs I've ever written, but that experience of being able to say, this is mine that I made, and I get to share it with you. And I'm just so excited for them to be able to have that same experience, because we all deserve that experience.
Yes, I totally agree. Thanks for sharing that. In our thing you wrote down, I love to talk a little bit about motherhood and music. You've got 3 kids.
I have 3 kids. I have a daughter who's 11.
How do you do it? And a gazillion jobs.
I have a daughter who's 11. I have a son who is 9 and a son who is 7. Um, and
You're so young.
thanks. Yeah, I had started having kids in my mid 20s, but um everyone, that's your own journey. Like, don't ever think that my motherhood journey needs to be your motherhood journey. But when I started having kids, I really did think, well, I guess I'm putting music on hold for however long, because I don't know how I'm going to do both. And then I learned very quickly that I couldn't stop. I was like, it's just so much a part of me. I have to keep trying to find a way to do it. And it was hard. The thing that was hard is that people assumed that because I had kids, I couldn't do it anymore. They assumed what I had originally assumed. But because of that assumption, they didn't make an opportunity for me to even try.
Right.
There were jobs. This is the music industry, freelance world. There's no rules, there's no HR. The laws don't really support anything in that sphere. And so there were times that I got turned down specifically because I was a mom and they thought that I could not be relied on to meet deadlines.
Right.
First of all, if you
So
want someone to make a deadline, talk to a mother, because we know how to get
they're
things
on a
done
schedule.
on a schedule. Amongst all the crazy chaos, we can do that. But also they hired a dad instead. And I was like, I don't understand the difference. And they're like, well, he's not as big of a risk. And I was like, my motherhood should not be considered a risk to any project. And that was really hard, but I
In a way,
last
it's
year,
bold that they told you that was the
yes,
reason they didn't,
it was.
because
It was, well,
generally they might
it was
not tell
because
you.
it was because I asked. I was like,
Uh-huh.
what was it that was hard? And they tried to say these things, and I was like, well, I did this and this, and like, what if I did this? And I was just very persistent. Um, and so finally they were like, listen, we just feel like we can't rely on you for our deadlines because you're a mother. And I was like, that is very interesting. And I was like, well, who did you hire? I want to support them. I'm really excited about the project. I want to be able to see what the music is when it's ready. I want to, congratulate that composer. All of these like really important relationship building conversations. And then they told me who it was, and I knew him, and I knew that he was a dad. And I was like, I don't, I have a hard time reconciling that. Um, And this is something that is not unique to me, unfortunately. I have talked to many mothers who have experienced the same thing, or many women who feel like they can't talk about their kids and their experience as a
Right.
parent because it would create these barriers. Or because they feel like it's just not accepted, that people don't want to hear about that. And so the thing that, I was just outspoken about it. This is stupid. Plain and simple. That's one of the dumbest reasons I've ever heard for someone to not hire me. Like, don't choose not to hire me because I don't have the skills. Totally understand that. I will learn those skills. But this other thing is just, it's not, it doesn't have anything to do with it. And in fact, my creativity has completely changed in a way that enhances it since I've
Mm.
had kids. That's my personal experience with it. I've talked to many other women who have also experienced that. Again, our own personal journeys with what motherhood means to us. But last year, I was very blessed to be able to be introduced to two amazing women, Tiff Randall and Mary Lay, who co-founded the nonprofit Mamas in Music. Tiff is in LA, Mary is in the UK, and they had the same experience. They had kids and they were like, now what? Where's the support?
Life is over.
It's so hard to do it alone. We need to find a way to support
Yes.
ourselves and each other with this. And they got together and were like, well, why don't we build it? Let's build something that helps support mothers because we feel it. We can't be the only ones feeling it. And so that was back in 2019 that they started doing that. And then I was introduced to them through a mutual friend. And I was like, yes, this thing, we all need this thing. And so I love working for the company and being able to help build the team, create, again, it's all about relationships and creating environments where people can find that space. So with Mamas in Music specifically, we are here to support these mothers, but also to create opportunities for them to advance their careers without needing to compromise their needs as a caregiver. Because that's very important. We are whole people. We don't want to splice ourselves into different places. That really undermines our ability to do the work that we do as a parent and as a creative individual. Whether that creativity is found through songwriting and creating music, or whether that creativity is found in the, business side of the industry of how do we make the music industry the place that we want it to be. Like, all of it is creative. It's just in different avenues of it. And so we're here to help women from across the globe and across the different areas and corners of the industry to be able to come together and make this space for mothers to show just, we know how to rock it, because we really do. Like, I have never met a mother who didn't know how to do her job well. That doesn't mean we have it all together. Like, we feel constantly like things are everywhere. We don't all, but there's not a single human on the planet who completely has everything together.
Right.
But being able to know that we are very capable of doing what it is that we set out to do, we're just here to show the world that and to let the mothers themselves do the talking.
Yeah. Awesome. You mentioned protecting your creativity. What do you mean with that?
Yeah. Being able to protect your creative brain and body is something I'm very, very passionate about. And it kind of ties in a lot with what we've already talked about. Being able to see yourself as a whole person, creating safety in the industry, being able to use your voice the way that you want to use it. All of those are very important, but none of that can happen if you're not taking care of yourself in a way that allows you to be creative. So this encompasses, first of all, are you getting the sleep that you need? Are you having good nutrition? Are you taking good care of your body? I have chronic pain and some other invisible disabilities. And so there are certain levels of care that if I do not do, I am out. I can't fulfill any responsibilities until I start doing it. And that takes some time to build back up again. And regardless what your current circumstances are, there are always things that are baseline of what you need in order to be a creative person. Excuse me. To be a creative person. If that's the space that you're in, and making a space where you look at it and you're like, I can't wait to get in there and do some writing or do some, transcribing, to do whatever it is, to paint, to journal, make bad art, whatever it is. I can't wait to get in there. If you're looking at your space and it's like, maybe tomorrow, then you're not creating a place that's protecting that sacred part of you. So there's space, there's your physical, what you as a person need. And then really, really important is how to protect your creative brain. So when I talk about that, what I mean is, do you have self-compassion for your creative self? Self-compassion, everyone should go and read the book Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff. She is one of the
Yes.
best researchers on this
Love her.
topic, and it's amazing. I love her
Yes.
books. Fierce Self-Compassion, also an amazing book, specifically written to the audience of women and how to empower yourself through self-compassion. Really, really important stuff. Completely changed how I approach a lot of what it is that I do. But so when you're protecting your creative brain, you are talking to yourself. Your self-talk matters. Language is powerful. How you talk to yourself matters. And so being able to learn, like, is this self-talk helping me? Doesn't matter if I think it's true or not. Like, truth does not matter. Like, I suck at this. Maybe that's true, but is it helpful to talk about myself in that way? Not at all. Not at all. And so being able to be intentional about your self-talk, being able to view yourself as a human. I know that sounds kind of weird, but instead of this producing machine or, you know, whatever it is, like there have been times that I have viewed myself more as a vacuum or a cleaning material than as a person. Like, yes, I have a lot to clean. Like, cleaning up after kids is hard work, and it's always happening. But that is a behavior that I do. That is not who I am. And so it's the same thing with art. I am an artist who makes art. I am not the art itself. When it doesn't go right, I am not the mistake. So seeing yourself in the wholeness of your humanity is important. And then setting boundaries, because when you start having burnout is a form of trauma, and it impacts every aspect of you as a physical being. It can make you sick. It can alter the way that you view the world around you. And it's a really, really hard thing. Burnout sucks. And it's not something, like, sometimes it's like turned into a buzzword, but it's not something to just stick your nose up at and say, oh, burnout, it goes away eventually. It's like, it takes hard work to be able to work through it. And so the more that we can be proactive in protecting ourselves from the things that would cause burnout, the more we are doing for ourselves as an artist and as a person. The better we're being for our relationships, both within the artistic sphere and outside of it. Relationships are a really, really important part of who we are and how we experience the world around us and how we create. For me, I mean, my husband is one of the most important relationships that I have, along with my kids. And when I start getting burnt out, I am not a great person to be around, and my relationships with them suffer. And because of that, my ability to create also suffers because of the relationships, not just because I'm feeling down and tired and not motivated and talking badly about myself all the time, right? Those are the things that naturally happen during burnout. So, finding ways for you to protect your creative brain is very, very, I think, is an essential part of being an artist. And it's not something that you can do second. It's something that you should do first. So that's kind of what I mean when I'm talking about it in that way.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. I'm a big fan of Kirsten Neff. I show her to all my students. There's this really nice
I love her work.
TED talk she did, and that's, like, here guys, check this out.
Put
Yeah.
it in the show notes.
Totally. Yeah, totally. You know, choosing self-compassion over self-esteem, right? It's, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
game
because it
changer.
allows mistakes to be a part of the process,
Right.
which they have to be. If
Yeah.
we say, oh, I messed up, so therefore I'm a terrible person, we're not allowing
Yeah.
ourselves to
Oh,
grow.
you lost.
And
No.
and that is such a shame.
Yeah, totally.
We
Yeah.
each deserve growth. We're built to grow. And
Yeah.
mistakes is one of the best places where we find those opportunities for growth. And so being able to see where that is and then be compassionate towards yourself in that moment, that's where growth happens.
Yeah. Yeah, like Thich Nhat Hanh says, you make good use of the mud to grow lotus flowers. And I think
Yes.
you're doing that, right? Whatever
Yes.
you've been experiencing, you're actually putting your energy in so many different boards and projects and education and yeah, connecting with your deeper self. Yeah, helping everybody. I think that's yeah, very awesome. I'm sure I can talk for ever about all the other questions I have, but I'd love to know what's coming up, any projects or things or goals, or what are you excited about coming up?
Yeah. Well, different things in different spheres. With the Female Composer Safety League, like I said, the Sound Off Make the Music Industry Safe report came out, and so we're going to be able to do a lot of work with that. So keep an eye out, share the word, talk about what this industry looks like to you. What is your experience in it? The more we talk about it, the more power we have. So that's really exciting, and we have a lot of work that we have that's coming out with that later this year. So it's just to keep your eyes peeled kind of thing. With Mamas in Music, we have a lot of really awesome things happening. We're in the process of planning some song camps, both in the UK as well as in the US, for mothers to be able to go and produce music with other women, which is a very rare experience, and it's really a wonderful experience and super fun. Everyone can go to mamasinmusic.org to be able to follow all events. Become a supporting member. If you're not a mother, we need supporters. It's just, that's how we build any program, for any sphere, is finding people who are willing to support, and then we grow together. So go check that out, because there's a lot of other events and projects that we have coming up with them as well. For myself, I am in the process of creating a piano. I'm trying to think of how to explain it. It's a book of piano arrangements of religious hymns, and it's written specifically from a teacher's perspective. So having something written that is an easier arrangement, and then with tips and tricks to get to the harder arrangement. So there's 2 arrangements of each song, and then being able to kind of help the person learn, because I learned these things in the easier one, I can now apply those skills in these ways to be able to advance my skills. So I'm in the process of creating that. I hope it will be released by the end of the year, like this fall. Fingers crossed. It might get delayed. There's always delays, but I'm excited for that. I've been loving making this project. I've been teaching music in some capacity for over 15 years, and so kind of trying to distill that into a way that is easily digestible in short book form for people that I don't know personally, because teaching to a student really is an individual thing, but there are principles that apply across the board. And so being able to find those things and try to put them in a way that a person can gain confidence in the skills that they have to be able to use those to progress. That's like the joy of being a teacher. So I'm in the process of creating that, and I'm really excited for when it comes out.
So it's for students or for teachers?
Well, for anyone,
Both, I guess.
but it would, the idea is the inspiration behind the project is there are so many adults that I meet who are like, oh, I took piano lessons when I was younger and I wish I wouldn't have quit. And like,
Yep.
woe is my decision-making process. I don't know. But it's never too late. It's never too late to be able to learn those skills. And so I wanted to make something where these adults or these people who wish that they could improve, but maybe don't have time to get a piano teacher, would be able to pick up this book and say, oh yeah, I can play that because, or at least I can stumble through it or learn it because that looks easy enough. I can't play this other one. That looks too hard, but I can play this one. This looks like it's easy enough that I could learn it. But then being able to have them do that and then be able to say, well, now because I've learned this,
know the easy
I can
version.
apply those skills and I'm capable of getting to the more advanced stage that I want to be at. So that is the idea behind the project.
Oh, cool. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. But that's what's coming this year.
Awesome. Well, I will put all the information in the description so everybody can just check out all the projects and
Thank you.
communities that we value. And yeah, thanks so much for being part of my project and of the podcast. And it is
such
just
a joy.
pleasure.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Like I said, I loved being on your project. The theme of all the voices coming together, it's really the most inspiring and empowering thing that anyone can be a part of. So I'm just so grateful that you allowed me to be a part of that.
Thank you.
As I conclude this episode of ViviTalks, I want to express my sincere gratitude for joining me in this musical journey. I hope you enjoyed exploring the stories and experiences of the incredible female musicians on my album. To stay updated on our latest episodes, subscribe to ViviTalks on your favorite podcast platform. Connect with me on social media through Vivienne, and please check out my album Type of Thing, a musical exchange featuring 100 female musicians to empower female cacao farmers of Virunga State Park in Congo. It's about more than just music. It's about making a positive impact in the world. Your support is part of that journey, so thank you once again for tuning in. Until next time, keep celebrating the power of music, and let's continue to amplify the voices of remarkable women in the industry. Stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep the music flowing. With love and gratitude. Till soon.